to the Jon and Lebo Show, back for another episode. First time in a couple months, John. How's it going?
It's going great, man. I'm excited to be back. A little few month hiatus. I know we've both been working, but it's good to be back here. A lot of stuff to talk about over the summer as we get into what most would call the slower part of the
The dog
calendar
days.
year for sports. I personally don't think so. I love baseball, but
It's an interesting
slower.
time. It is slower, but it's interesting because you got the NHL, NBA draft, the NBA finals, and NHL finals concluding, or Stanley Cup finals. But preseason is only a month and a half away.
Yeah, they start summer league in like 2 weeks in the NBA. I know that.
Yeah, I don't care about summer league,
I
but
love I love summer league. Oof.
I don't know. So it's all right. I'm more excited for Hard Knocks because that's like okay, football season's right around the corner.
Oh, I
Now
can't wait for football. Oh.
it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be great. Can't wait for the Pats season. I know the Raiders. You're feeling optimistic for the first time in a while.
Yeah, I
Although,
mean, this is the first year I've ever predicted them to make the playoffs. I mean, the team's been making a lot of great choices ever since 2012 to build towards this, and hopefully they can do something.
and with the Broncos where they're at, it's gonna be a lot easier. So the finals last week, we're a week late. We try to cram this episode in. We've both been busy though, but
Well, yeah, just like a brief recap of it.
yeah. So um, LeBron James comes back 3-1. You think it's an incredible comeback. I think it's a very good comeback. You got to give him credit. Huge legacy builder, but he had a lot of help from the NBA. The Draymond Green suspension, I don't think he should have been suspended. If that series is tied 2-2, he's not suspended. If he does that, I think you're the one who brought this up to me. If he does that to, I don't know, Kevin Love, he's not getting suspended for that. It's because he,
Well, yeah, but I think the league, it's just very sketchy. The league put themselves into a very sketchy position. But I mean, look, I personally, from a basketball standpoint, the thing that happened with Steven Adams, I don't think he should have been suspended because I saw that's what he does. Like when he flails his body like that, I bet he didn't even think that he did that until like after the play. But and
so
the
you
whole
think he did that to draw a foul instead of
I thought
kicking
that
in the
it was just
nuts?
his it's just his like mechanics. That's just how he like usually works, and that's not a good thing to do. And I agree that it should have been a flagrant, but like there was no intention for him to kick him there. I don't think. And then with LeBron, he like went after his groin intentionally, and it's just not the best person to do that around to. And obviously, LeBron like got a rise out of him, but I think both suspensions were very deserving. However, I think that LeBron just used that to his advantage. Because look, and Draymond Green plays Game 5, series is over.
Yeah,
Series
absolutely.
is over. I think the series is over. And then Game 6, you had Green back, not quite back in a rhythm. Obviously, a guy coming off a game suspension in the finals isn't going to play as well. And then you have Bogut go down. Bogut going down means that the Cavs can attack the rim a lot more. And you saw that from J.R. Smith in Game 6 and 7. You saw LeBron James in Games 6 and 7 even attack the rim even more. The last 2 games he played were the best games I've ever seen him play. And then ending it with that block. After
And that,
that block, you knew they weren't going to lose. So, I mean, obviously, yeah, there were some lucky components involved, but every year there's luck, man. I mean, look at last year. Kyrie Irving
yeah,
and
but this
Kevin
year,
Love were both hurt.
I'm not trying to take anything away from LeBron, but the fact is, yeah, they beat a team that just set the record for most wins in an NBA season, but that team also had one of their most versatile players suspended a game and their best rim protector out for 3 games out of that series.
Yeah.
And you also look at the fact that Steph Curry didn't really show up in that game 7. You got to put some
Well,
blame on him.
well, yeah. I mean, I definitely put blame on him. He didn't play as well as he should have the whole series, really. But going back to last year and the way the finals went, Curry didn't really show up that well in that finals either. And Iguodala played very well too. But the Warriors, I don't really think that the Warriors, look, they deserved a ton of credit for last year. But look at the road that they had to go on to get there last year. They had to play the Pelicans. They had to play in the second round the Grizzlies, and then finish it up in the conference finals against the Rockets, who were a good team, but when it comes to matchups, that's just a slam dunk for them. And then combined with going up against the Cavs, they had a neck and neck game in Game 1. Then Kyrie breaks his kneecap, he's out. Kevin Love has been out. They had Mozgov, Dellavedova, J.R. Smith, Shum. It was really just LeBron and Tristan Thompson, obviously pulling his load a little bit. But if you talk about pure scorers who can really impact the team well, it was just LeBron James. So I think of it this way. Ultimately, there's so many little things to consider that greatly impacted this series. But if you look at the big picture, this year, the Warriors had issues with their key role players being out. And last year, the Cavs had issues with their not even just big role players, but impact players being out. But not taking anything away from LeBron, anything away from Kyrie, even Kevin Love, who showed up in that last game, and even in game 1, too. And he was a little bit he was pretty non-existent in the middle games, but
Yeah.
their players showed up when it mattered. They played well. Kyrie Irving, that three-pointer at the end, the
Oh,
shot,
yeah.
that was unbelievable basketball. And from a basketball standpoint, if you just purely love the game, the way that he was able to create his own shot on that and just get a shot up and in, he's one of the best pure scorers in the league and the best finisher at the rim in the league.
Absolutely.
And to get that shot in there was insane. It was a great finals. And
It's kind of like that Ray Allen shot a few years back.
oh yeah, but Ray Allen can't put the ball on the floor even close to as good as
Oh,
Kyrie.
no. I'm not
The
saying
handles. No, I'm not. Yeah, look. It was if you in measures of clutchness, those shots were could
that. Neck
parallel.
and neck, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously that one was a finals saving one. This one was essentially a finals clinching shot, but a great thing. And look, you can't take anything away from LeBron James. Game 6 of this series, I've never seen him better in my life. That game, he was unbelievable. And look at him. I don't want to compare him to Jordan, okay? And I don't think he wants to get compared to Jordan either.
He's not Jordan. He's not.
I just want the criticisms that go towards him to just really just shoo away, because the fact that he was able to lead this team to this win was unreal. The fact that they were able to beat the 73-9 Golden State Warriors from a 3-1 deficit. 3-1's never even been come back on for a game 7 in the finals, let alone to the greatest regular season of all time. And for LeBron to lead this team to do that, do whatever it takes to win, and even to see him and Steph Curry go at it, see LeBron block him and then talk some smack to him. It was great for a fan standpoint. Look, as a fan, you couldn't have asked for a better finals, and you couldn't have asked for a better performance and a better year for a championship to be brought to Cleveland than that from LeBron James.
I mean, listen, he's going to be criticized. He's a guy who people consider one of the best of all time. He's not there yet. Is he top 10? Yeah. He might be top 5. I don't think he's there at this point in his career. But if you're a generational player, you're going to be unfairly criticized because you're in that conversation.
And so it's not even –
I hate when people say – you shouldn't be criticizing him like that because, he's still incredible. I'm not saying he's not incredible, but, his leadership ability should be criticized a little bit. His personality off the court should still be criticized, as everyone should be, regardless of talent level. And when you're comparing him to people like Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, you've got to criticize him when you're comparing him to those people because he has his flaws. And yes, he came back and beat this Warriors team, but I still think that so much went his way. That game 5 at Oracle's, they didn't have Draymond Green. Game 6, you're back at home in Cleveland. You have home court advantage, and you're coming off of a win. And Draymond Green and Bo gets out, and then Draymond Green's back from 1 game suspension. He's not 100%. At least he's not in the swing of things. Then game 7, anything could happen, and he showed up that game 7. You got to give him credit. But Steph Curry also choked a little bit. I'm not afraid to say that. He got help from the other side because their best player didn't show up like he should have, especially in that fourth quarter, those last 6-7 minutes.
Yeah, but I mean, you're taking these achievements and you're acting like they're not as great as they are. Game 6, they were home. You still need to beat the best team in the NBA, and Bogut went down at the end, and they came out better than them from the start on out. Yeah. And then you say Game 7, anything can happen. Yeah. Well, anything can happen, but winning Game 7 on the road in Oracle against that Warriors team fully at almost full strength, that's an insane achievement. Look, if you had to ask me, I would say that LeBron James right now has definitely cemented a spot in a top 5, maybe top 3 player of all time, and he has more to prove, and I think that he's ready to do that. Do I think that Cleveland's going to win a championship again next year? No, I don't. But I just think that this achievement is definitely just shows what he's been able to do and just shows that he's an all-time great.
He is
Already.
I'll agree with that. He's an all-time great. You got to give him credit for how he showed up that Game 7, especially that Game 6. You also have to give Kyrie credit. You've given him plenty of credit. He had an unbelievable series. He showed up. He's a guy who people looked at and didn't take seriously as a top point guard in the NBA. I think he proved this NBA Finals that he is a top point guard in this league. And he had an unbelievable series. If it wasn't for him, they wouldn't have won either. Not taking anything away from LeBron. Greatest player in the league. He just showed that it's not Steph Curry's league, it's LeBron's league, and that's really the big story. Also, I think he's neck and neck with Larry Bird. I didn't see Bird play, but you look at the numbers, you look at the individual achievements and how many rings they have. They're both two of the best forwards to ever play the game.
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously, LeBron still has a ton to prove. He still has a lot of NBA basketball left in him, so we're just going to have to wait and see. But a great finals. Now I want to shift over here to the draft, where if he never left Cleveland, they would have never had Kyrie and they would never be here. And that's a fact. So him leaving Cleveland, actually helped him win this title, which people don't really understand. But also, anyway, going on to the draft.
Not to justify that, but yeah.
going to the draft, there were a lot of it was definitely one of the years where it's not one of the more stock drafts. It's one of the more two-player drafts. And obviously we knew that Ben Simmons was going number 1 to Philadelphia. We knew that going after him was Brandon Ingram unless there was a blockbuster trade. And I think both of those guys are going to be big contributors to the league. Then you had the 3rd pick. Yep. And this is where everyone really was scratching their head. And I feel that the last few years, everyone's just been scratching their head in general with the Boston Celtics draft selections.
You know, I don't think any team is that great at drafting players. I think it's always a guessing game at the end of the day. You don't know how a player is going to transition.
No,
I think there's teams that are better, obviously. But Danny Ainge, he's great at making deals. He's not the best at drafting. He never has been. He has drafted guys like Avery Bradley in the middle of the 1st round. Jared Solinger, who's a fat slob, but he gets boards. He's made some good picks, decent picks, but overall, he's about average, below average drafter. He's not that great at evaluating college talent, and he had a deal in place with your 76ers that I thought he probably should have taken.
Look, here the reported deal was Robert Covington, Nerlens Noel, the 24 and the 26 pick. So pretty much it was just an extra fluff around Nerlens. 24, 26, well, I mean, the Sixers ended up drafting Timothy Luwawu, who was a top, one of a more like top prospect for the Sixers big board. I think I saw an article where he was like the 5th overall guy that they wanted in this draft, which was crazy. But yeah. So the fact that he fell there was crazy. But still, I mean, in my opinion, with the whole 76ers, they've been horrible when it comes to trade leverage. Letting everyone know that you're aggressively shopping 2 big men, what's that going to do besides completely diminish any leverage you have? And the Celtics had all the leverage.
I mean, it's no secret that they had no leverage. They had 3 big men who are all below the age of 23.
Yeah, but you didn't need
and they didn't have any guards. They needed a guard, and they wanted Chris Dunn at that number 3 pick.
Yeah, but you didn't need to go around and just saying that. People like that just made it even worse. I think that if he would have been more quiet about it and just talked to teams, then I think it would have been better. I think Brian Colangelo has been handling it poorly. And so I think that if he would have worked it better from a leverage standpoint, then I think a deal might have been able to get done for Jahlil Okafor for the 3rd pick straight up, or Nerlens for the 3rd pick straight up. Now,
Danny wouldn't have taken that. He wouldn't have taken that.
If it were up to me, I wouldn't want either of these guys to be traded because I understand the Sixers are in, quote, win now mode. But with free agency, next year's draft, why throw away a big man that could be a part of your future? You don't know what these guys are yet still. I mean, you have a glimpse. Nerlens Noel and Jahlil Okafor, and Joel Embiid for that matter too, those guys are still prospects. You still don't know. People are bashing their complete ability. They're 19 and 21 years old. You don't know what they're going to be. Why force a trade when a guy could end up being great? For what? For next season where you quote to be in win now mode, and then what? You trade one of those guys away and they end up being you're not going to make the playoffs anyway next year. So why force a trade?
Well, I mean, you're not trading for a veteran guard. You're trading for Chris Dunn, who they think can become a great NBA player.
I
And I
wanted
think, I
Dunn.
think, I think with Nerlens Noel, you kind of know what you're gonna get. He's a guy who has a potential to be one of the best defensive big men in the NBA. He's never going to be overpowering offensive threat. He's a guy who's a rim protector, and he's good in transition. He's good on the pick and roll. You know what you're going to get with Nerlens Noel. Jahlil Okafor, I think, has a little bit of a higher ceiling, at least value-wise. Joel Embiid, we have no idea if he's ever going to even touch a court. He probably will, but will
No,
he have a long career?
he was just cleared for
For
5-on-5 scrimmages
Yeah, I
and
saw that.
practices, so he's back. He's getting ready to go.
But
But then again, who knows what's going to go on with that injury? I know it's not nagging him right now, but the team's just being extra cautious. But I just think that you don't. I know that these guys need to go, but I think Brian Colangelo needed to do it in a better way for a better leverage standpoint.
let me ask you this: is there really that much of a difference between trading Nerlens Noel and Jahlil Okafor straight up for that number 3 pick, than trading one of those two along with Covington and the number 24 and
There's
number
not.
26
There's not.
pick? There's not. So I think that's a fine trade. If you're a Sixers fan and they make that trade, I would be happy with it because you're going to have to give up one of those 3 big men regardless. So
You know what the thing is? I'm just saying that in principle, I didn't want any of those guys out. But if you look at contract purposes, one, Jahlil Okafor, I guess, had more trade value. And two, Nerlens Noel is going to be a free agent after this year, unrestricted. So that's what you also have to take into consideration. So I get why they were trying to aggressively shop. But I think a trade's still gonna come. They're still gonna get someone. They're still gonna sign someone in free agency. So whatever can happen, whatever might happen, I just want to push out the window. And I feel like no one's really talking about the number one pick.
well,
Ben
let me just
Simmons,
before we start get into that discussion. Do you think there's any shot Nerlens Noel signs with the Sixers after the season?
I think if he sees the potential in the team that drafted him, that took a chance on him, trading for him, that molded him into the player that he is, I think he's going to be a 12 and 15 guy. That's just my opinion. But I think that if he sees that and they offer him a good amount of money, and also it's a contract year. So if he plays better and they offer him a lot of money, I think that he will stay. I think that he really will. I don't know if it'll be a max deal or what have it, but I think that he will stay. But at the same time, there's no sure thing. And coming off a team that was 10-72, it's not hard to think that okay, maybe the team will be trash again this year and he'll walk.
He's from Boston. He's from Everett. I could see the Celtics going after him. They need that. So maybe after the season,
And
who
and here
knows?
and here's what's going to happen, Alex. I don't think that honestly. I think Nerlens is going to go before Jaleel. Jaleel still has 3 more years on his deal. I think that this year he could end up playing really well, and then the Sixers will trade him, or during the season, right at the trade deadline, they know that he's going to walk, so they'll just trade him and not get nearly enough as to what he should be getting, what they should be getting for him. But
Better
I
to
don't.
get something than just have him walk.
Yeah, yeah. And Brian Colangelo knows that, so he'll definitely. He's the one. His drafting has always been good, besides Bargnani in '06, but that draft was horrendous. Besides that, he's the trades. Some of the trades he made have been suspect. So whatever happens is going to happen. So the whole Jahlil Okafor, Nerlens Noel, who's going to get traded, that's up in the air. But I just want to talk about the top 3 picks in this draft. With Ben Simmons, I watched his press conference. It was a clear right pick to do. The only team he worked out for was the Sixers. He's going to play the 3. He's going to even handle the ball on offense. He's going to be point forward, and he has the ability to handle the ball. He's the ability to his jumper's going to get better. Brett Brown already said that he likes his jump shot. It's fine, and he's going to build off that. His ability to get to the rim, his basketball IQ, all of that in here in Philly right now. If this guy went to a school like Kentucky, he would be the unanimous number 1 pick. There wouldn't even be any debate between him and Ingram. But the fact that he went to LSU, the fact that he didn't make the tournament and whatnot because the team was horrendous, I think that the team's in a great state with him being the franchise player, and he's the player that Philadelphia has wanted and really wanted the last 3 drafts. Because if you look at the last 3 years, 2014 they didn't luck out. They got the number 3 pick. 2015, same exact deal. This is the first year the franchise has gotten some luck, so I think this is the first time that we'll actually see even like some progress. But it was a great pick. And then Brandon Ingram, obviously for the Lakers, I think he was the safest guy in this draft. He's going to be a over 20-point scorer. I think he's going to be an all-star a few times in his career. And then it just goes on from there. But Jaylen Brown, the 3rd pick,
Yep.
I don't know if fans were too happy about that one.
I'm not huge into college basketball. I'm not going to act like I know a ton about these prospects. I know Ben Simmons seems like the real deal. Seems like someone who's going to come out and be a quote unquote superstar in this league. He has that potential. Jaylen Brown, I've seen Jimmy Butler say that this guy has the attitude to become a superstar in the league, but it's an investment. And the thing is, the Celtics were shopping this pick around up until they had to make that draft pick, which makes me think that they just had to settle on this guy. They went with the guy who they thought had the best potential. Well, maybe not the best potential, but someone who would be good, would be, a starting level three within the next 3, 4, 5 years. Um, but this doesn't help the Celtics now. And this is a team that, if they make the right moves, they could be a top team in the East, with the exception of the Cavaliers. So I just, I was hoping that they'd make a trade. They didn't. And they made, what, 5 picks, and they already have a lot of guys on their roster right now. I just think that it's better to pick this guy than to force a trade in which you get lesser value than what your assets worth. But still, I think they should have taken that Sixers deal. So they had a trade in place, which I thought they could have taken. And I don't know if Jaylen Brown is the guy who you stopped that trade for. I think they should have probably went through with that trade, because Nerlens Noel, maybe he's not a game changer, quote unquote, but he's a guy who's gonna be averaging a double-double next year in all likelihood, and he's a great rim protector, and he'll fit in very well with the Celtics team. And then you got Covington, who's a decent shooter. They need that. 2 other picks, which they can end up trading. They traded 2 picks late in the first round and early in the second round for Clippers first round pick. Why not do that instead of just adding these guys on your roster, or getting these Europeans who are going to play overseas for a couple of years? I wasn't happy with it, just because I think they had a trade in place that they should have taken, in which they got plenty for that number 3 pick, but they didn't. So
Yeah, and also I think that the Celtics knew that this wasn't the best draft, and they went with who they thought would be the best player to help them. And I think Jaylen Brown's going to be a good NBA player. I just thought there were a lot of head scratchers because people thought that they should take Chris Dunn. I know you don't draft for need, but the backcourt is stacked in Boston.
yeah,
Not stacked, but stuffed. Combination of stuffed and
there's
stacked.
depth. There's a lot of depth in that backcourt.
And so it's I think Jaylen Brown could be a good guy, even if he comes off the bench. Maybe if he plays really well, he can even get some starting times this year. What if they go with, maybe they get a big man in free agency? If they start Isaiah Thomas, Avery Bradley, maybe they put Jaylen Brown at the 3,
Hey,
Jay
Kevin
Crowder at the 4.
Durant's meeting with the Celtics, just so you know.
Oh yeah, I saw that. But yeah, I mean, it's so we'll just have to wait and see for that. But it's going to be interesting to see what the Celtics do. They have their futures, and they're already a good NBA team, and they're just trying to make that next step to greatness again. And another big part of what happened is on draft night, besides after the first 2 picks and the lack of trade for the 3rd pick, the only real big thing was the Serge Ibaka trade.
Yeah.
Now, the Magic drafted Domantas Sabonis, the forward from Gonzaga, with the 11th pick, and then traded the rights to him, the rights to Victor Oladipo and Ersan Ilyasova to the Thunder for Serge Ibaka. Ibaka is going to be an unrestricted free agent after this year ends, and Oladipo, I will believe, will be one too. But I just think that the Magic got the real short end of the stick here. Victor Oladipo is, not only is he a special player, but coming in to this team where he doesn't have, like, I thought in Orlando there was a lot of pressure on him since he was the 2nd pick. The team wasn't good, and he put up good numbers and he showed what he can be. He's the exact 2 guard that this team was looking for, and so he's the guy that this team was looking for at the 2 guard position, because they've had for years and years and years just guys play the 2 who were just really good defensively and were just non-existent on offense. This guy, defenses are going to have to worry about. Look, going into this offseason, I really thought that Klay Thompson, had he have somehow gotten his way to, I know this is impossible, but had he gotten his way to Oklahoma City and play the 2, they would be borderline the best NBA team of all time. And the fact that they actually have someone now sufficient who will completely revolutionize what they're trying to do in Oklahoma City at the two is insane. He's him and Westbrook, that backcourt defensively, offensively, athletic. He can defend all aspects of the perimeter. Oladipo can shoot a little bit. His jumper will get better, and he can just score. He's going to be a star player, and that was just a great trade for them.
Yeah, it's this is also something that will probably sway Kevin Durant into staying if he hadn't already been going leaning that way anyways. You got a guard who's going to come in and he's going to produce offensively, and you already have plenty of depth with your big men, as we talked about before the show. So this is a no-brainer for the Thunder, and I don't really understand why the Magic did it, because this guy, I think, is the real deal. And I think if you have Oladipo, Westbrook, and Durant on this team, and Steven Adams is a year older, and you have all these big men, they're better going into next year than they were this year. And I think they already took Golden State to 7 games. Why can't they beat them next year? They're going to be a better team, I think. And this is just a trade that it's like when they had James Harden, not quite, but still, this is a guy who's only 23, 22.
He's really young, but I think they should have also kept Harden, but that's obviously a different discussion. This was just a great trade for them, and I think the Thunder are even going to take a next step next year. I really do.
Yeah, they're a better team, and I think we've talked about it, and I think most people feel this way. Durant's going to sign a 1-year deal. And this team has the potential to be the best in the West, I think, especially with Harrison Barnes leaving in all likelihood in Golden State. It's going to be the 3-headed monster out there with San Antonio, the Thunder, and the Warriors. And it's going to be probably a more even playing field. And if anything, the Thunder will have a step up because of this deal. I think it's a great deal. I couldn't give credit to the Thunder enough.
Absolutely not. And I think we've talked about the draft a lot. I wanted to shift over to baseball. The MLB, only sport now going on. The drafts are over. All this NBA talk is going to be done. Draft talk going to be done. So we now have just baseball, the main thing. I know that yesterday the Yankees hit 500. I know that the Rangers have the best record in the AL. And the Red Sox have still been killing it, but still not quite in that division.
Not really.
The Orioles. So, look, I look at the AL Central. I know the Indians are just killing, but I don't think that they're going to come out victorious in this division come September, October. I think the Rangers are the real deal, and I think that the AL East is still even up for grabs, in my opinion, besides the Rays. Even the Rays.
Not the Rays, no. This team, let's just start with the Red Sox. That's the team I'm most familiar with. They need pitching. They're 1, 2, 3 starters. Even though David Price went 2 1/3 innings yesterday, giving up 12 runs, he pitched, or not 12, 6 runs. I think maybe 12 hits. He pitched horribly, and they need. That's one game. Before that, he was on a roll, and he's terrible against Texas. But right now, Stephen Wright is one of the best pitchers in the MLB. He's probably going to start for the American League, which is crazy to think because he's a 31-year-old knuckleball pitcher who's been a career minor league player. It's kind of like an R.A. Dickey-like story. You have Rick Porcello, who's been consistent, and that's really the one word you can use with him. He's been good enough, and he has 3.8 ERA. He's been fine. And then David Price, as I alluded to, they don't have a 4 or 5 starter. Clay Buchholz has been pooping the bed every start. You have Eduardo Rodriguez, who's still coming off of injury, and he's still trying to find his way back. You remember when we talked to Buster Olney earlier this spring, and it was that left knee that was dislocated, and it's taken a while for him to find confidence and to be a confident pitcher on the mound. He's tipping his pitches. They need to get a starting pitcher, and they need a reliever. Their lineup's fine. We know that. They're 1, 2, 3 with Betts, Pedroia, and Bogarts, and then you have Ortiz. Those 4 hitters, all 4 of those guys are top 10 hitters in the American League right now.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Which is unbelievable. So you have the lineup set. You just need some pitching. Now, what do they have to give up for that pitching? That's my concern. If you want to get a guy like Jose Fernandez out in Miami, you're going to have to give up a guy like Mookie Betts or a few prospects, a few of your top prospects like Benintendi, um, which I think would be worth it because the reality is they have three guys in Mookie Betts, Xander Bogarts, and Jackie Bradley Jr. One of those three guys is not going to be on the Red Sox within the next few years. They're going to sign elsewhere. There's no way all three of those guys are staying. And if I could get rid of one of them, it would be Jackie Bradley Jr. I think he has the lowest ceiling. But I don't think that the Marlins would trade straight up JBJ for Fernandez. So they're probably going to have to get rid of a guy like Mookie Betts to get a pitcher that they really want, which
I
I'm
mean,
fine with.
I think the Red Sox are going to make a good move. Dombrowski's going to make sure that they get the right guy for at the trade. I think I could see them making trades at the trade deadline.
I mean, they've inquired on Garrett Cole. They've inquired on Jose Fernandez, on Tyrion
I
down in Atlanta.
I think that if they were to get Fernandez, they would have to give up a guy like Betts or Bogarts.
No, they are. That's what the reports are. Same thing with Garrett Cole out in Pittsburgh. But that's the price you got to pay for an ace. And right now you have David Price, who's your ace. He's 31. And realistically, your ace this season is Stephen Wright, who's 31, but he's a knuckleball pitcher. After this season, he's not going to be nearly as good. It's not going to be nearly as effective. That's just how it works with knuckleball pitchers. He might be reliable. He might be a decent, four starter, but you can't. Knuckleball pitchers have never been able.
Let me ask you this. I know that, but would you ever consider trading Wright before the trade deadline?
No, not at all. This is a playoff team. This team will make the playoffs. Are they a World Series contending team right now? I don't think so. Getting rid of Stephen Wright would be detrimental to this team, and that would definitely take him out of contention.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about him not even going to be effective next year or after that, like what's the point?
Well, it all comes down to whether or not they're trying to win a World Series this season. If they're trying to get if they're rebuilding or going to sell at the trade deadline, which they're definitely not going to do, then yeah, you trade Stephen Wright because the reality is he's not going to be that good. Look at Ari Dickey in Toronto right now. He's not pitching like a Cy Young anymore, and he didn't the year after his Cy Young campaign. And he also pitched poorly in the playoffs. So I'm worried about Stephen Wright in the playoffs. I am, but he's winning games for the Red Sox right now. And right now he has like a 2.06 ERA, and he's just getting the job done. He's throwing strikes with an extremely difficult pitch to hit, which you don't see a lot of. His catchers, most of his runs that he's giving up are unearned because Ryan Hannigan literally cannot catch them.
Right. I have noticed that. But all right, here's my take on the first half in the AL.
Yeah,
I still think that even this Rays team, I know their pitching is horrible, but they could. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but I think they'll still even push 500 going into what's it called, the like near the end of the season.
Yep.
I think that we've seen a lot from. I don't think Baltimore is gonna be around that late. I don't.
I think they will.
I don't know if they'll still. I mean, I think they'll have a wild card game, but I personally don't think they'll win the division. I think it'll either be Boston or Toronto, in my opinion. But going off that, I think this Rangers team is the real deal, man. I think that they are absolutely, and I'm not just saying this just because of their record. They are absolutely the team to beat going into this. I mean, look at what they've got right now on the mound. They're Cole Hamels, Colby Lewis, Perez, and Yu Darvish on the 15-day DL. They're paying this well, and they don't even necessarily even need to rush him back. And then their bats have just been incredible.
They also have Matt Bush, who has a great story. He did give up he did get the loss yesterday in the ninth. And I don't know if you watched the Sox game. They came back and scored four runs to win 8-7 against the Rangers. But Matt Bush, who was the first pick back in 2004 for the Padres, who was in and out of prison because he had alcohol issues, he's back. He's throwing 98, 99, and he's like 31 years old, hasn't pitched in a while. And he has like going into yesterday's game, he had like a 1.2 ERA. Now it's up to a 2. But he's pitching very well, and that's in addition to their bullpen. And their lineup, obviously, Prince Fielder, Adrian Beltre is one of my favorite players of all time. Sinchu Suchu, Elvis Andrews, they got a great team. And
I mean, I'm just looking forward to them come playoff time because I think they'll definitely be there. And I still think, moral of the story, I think they'll be there. I think the AL East is up in the air, and I still think the Central. Obviously, the Indians are there right now, but
the
still
Royals,
going forward, yeah.
you can never count out the Royals. The Indians are playing well. They've won like 7 straight games. I still think the Sox will come around. I see a move in Dave Dombrowski. I think that he's gonna trade someone. Don't know if it's gonna be drastic, but you got to trade some big asset that you have, whether it's Devers when they're minor league prospects or a guy like JPJ. Whoever it is, they need to get at least one more arm. If not in the bullpen, they need to get it in the rotation. I think the rotation right now is the most important thing for this Red Sox team. If they get one more starter and Eduardo Rodriguez can come around and start pitching like he did last season, then this team is a World Series contender. But right now, with the way this starting rotation, specifically the 4 and 5 starters, I'm talking Clay Buchholz just pooping the bed this season. Then yeah, this team is a World Series contender and they'll win the AL East. But they still have a move to make. But if I had to say right now who's the best team in this league, it's the Rangers in the AL. In the entire league, it's the Cubs. But the AL, this Texas Rangers team is playing unbelievably, and they're going to be a tough team to face in the playoffs. That's for sure.
Well, that'll do it for us here at the Jon and Lebo Show. Thanks for joining us back for our summer shows, and we're back, and we'll be bringing this to you weekly here. You can follow me on Twitter at JSokki, JSOKKI.
And I'm at Lebo Jr. 15, capital LEBO. No, I was just going to my full last name. Capital LEBO JR15. So follow me there. Also at the Jon and Lebo Show on Twitter.
Well, all right, guys. Take care. We'll see you next week, and we'll be back here better than ever next time.